Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Campbell. I am the CEO for Quarantine Racism Educational Services. You can find us at quarantineracism.com. We also have a store website, which is store.quarantineracism.com. And so I have gathered today to talk to you about supporting the mental health of our Black youth through affirmation as well as equity. Now, before I move forward, I want to introduce you to our two of our active brand ambassadors. One is Ms. Carsonell, and the other is Dr. Moomin. They're both very active in this movement in regards to Black Learners Matters too. Um, Miss Carsonell, she also um, has a major or a focus on policy and being able to get certain policies in the government. And Dr. Moomin, she focuses on language as well. And so they're both very prominent in this organization. And I thank them very much for what they're doing every day. And so let's get started. So, why do we focus on Black student mental health? Now, I don't know if you all know this, but Black children are almost twice as likely to die and commit suicide when we compare them to white children who are the same age. And we know this because in 2018, JAMA Pediatrics cited that the suicide rates for Black youth between ages 5 and 12 are 1 and 8 tenths times more likely or higher than their white peers. Real important. Why else do we focus on Black student mental health? We also know that Black students are less likely to receive school based mental health services, even though they have higher unmet needs. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration in 2021, only about 25% of our Black youth with mental health challenges receive treatment. And that's when compared to nearly 40% white youth. So the reality is that in our schools, and especially in today's climate, there's limited access to school based mental health resources. When it comes to discipline and racialized involvement, it's harsher for Black students. And then we also have racism, which is internalized within the school systems, as well as stereotype threat. Now, the impact of racial trauma can fall into three different areas: microaggressions, which come from your teachers or administrators, um, the fact that Black students are not noticed in the school, or that they're not noticed in every vehicle in the school. Now we know on many occasions they're noticed in sports, you know, and one of the microaggressions is, you all should be playing sports. I know my godson, he's only 13. He's a boy, a young man of color, and he's like 5'9", 5'10" right now. Um, and he's a big boy. And I always tell him, you don't have to play sports. You can do something intelligent, you know, like finances or something else. Be a doctor. So what happens also is the teachers lower their expectations because they don't expect for the children or the Black kids to do well. And so it affects equity. Of course, it affects their mental health because they are bombarded with this. and it also affects their identity as well. And so when we talk about stereotypes, there's a fear when it comes to confronting negative stereotypes. I remember when I was doing my first initiative on promoting positive racial teacher student classroom relationships, and I found out that even though the black kids only accounted for 45% of the student population, they were disciplined about 68% of the time, which is overrepresented. And, my principal, she was a white woman, and it was hard to really talk to her about it. And it got to the point where she wanted to bring in an independent consultant. And she even told me one day, and this was a microaggression, she said, "We have a consultant. We don't need anybody doing this." And so there's a fear for confronting this. And if it's a fear, or if those type of incidents happen on my level as an administrator, you can imagine what happens to the children. Because when they want to confront something such as racism in the classroom, they're either dealt discipline or they're frowned upon. And so this will lead the children to believe that, you know, they're not smart, even though we know they're brilliant. Um, and they will doubt themselves. And when they start to doubt themselves, they become disengaged in the education that the teacher is offering. Now, one of the other things that happens is there's limited culturally responsive care. You know, very few counselors are trained in racialized mental health. I mean, the reality is that most of the staff members in schools are white female. And so they don't receive this type of training. And because they don't receive this type of training, they wouldn't be able to help the young people. And then, as we know, there's always a family to school communication challenge. And this is one of the reasons why they put it in their evaluation, because they know that there's a challenge. And so it's very limited when it comes to being able to help our children transverse through these mental challenges that they're facing based on racism. And so, what do we do about it? What do we do about it as educators? What do we do about it as family members? Well, strategy number one is to affirm their identity every day. And you can accomplish this through affirmation cards. And affirmation cards are, cards that you may have as a teacher that says, you belong, you are brave, you are great, you are accepted. Those are some of the things that they need to hear. And then they need to see posters. And as I just spoke of, that positive language from their teachers. They also need to um, write their affirmations in journals to further encourage them. Another strategy is to have safe and supportive classrooms. And so you want to integrate lesson plans that focus on their identity as African American children. And you could also do this by using scenario cards with them. You could have discussions with them. And you could also use our course titled Promoting Positive Racial Teacher Student Classroom Relationships. Now, the nice thing about this course is it's only $297. It is a 12-week course. It's approved in 6 different states. And so this is a nationally recognized program. But that is how we help our children to heal in the classroom. Strategy number three, that family connection. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to share guides and family affirmations with the family. And so then this is something that they can practice at home. Now, I'm a former math teacher, and you send something like this home for homework for a parent to practice with their child, they're going to appreciate you more as a teacher. As a matter of fact, if they had any type of negative perspective of you, this is going to help them to build trust. And so you also, when you're doing communications, because being a teacher, you can just be busy with so much other stuff. You use a checklist. Did I communicate the affirmations? Did I send it home? You know, and some of the other things that you would discuss in the class as well. And so what we have a kit, and it's called a mental Black Learners Matter to mental health kit. And what we have in the kit is that we have affirmation cards and posters. We have journaling activity books. We have family guides for communication. And what's going to transpire is you're going to see an increase in your students' self-esteem. You're going to see an increase in their resilience, and you're going to see that they feel like now they belong in your classroom. And so it's your turn. My question for you is, what's one change you can make tomorrow to affirm a Black learner's mental health? I am Dr. Campbell. My phone number is 856-566-3267, extension 402. You can always email me at moreinfo at quarantineracism.com. Of course, we have our website, our main website at quarantineracism.com. And then we have an assortment of um, positive items for educators at our store, quarantineracism.com. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me or one of our brand ambassadors. Thank you very much.